So in this session we are going to discuss this first law of thermodynamics, which is the conservation of energy coupled with Reynolds transport theorem. So it is a part of this integral control volume analysis. That we are continuing, and here we are going to discuss Reynolds transport theorem coupled with this energy balance or energy conservation. And energy conservation is just nothing but the first law of thermodynamics. Right? So here N is equal to E, we are going to substitute eta equal to small e, because we know that E is equal to integral over the volume of the system small e dV, where capital E is equal to this total internal energy plus kinetic energy total plus potential energy, and the small e is equal to small u plus v square by 2 plus gz. Right. So the first law of thermodynamics, it states that dE dt system is equal to q dot minus w dot. So we are going to apply it for Reynolds transport theorem, and here dE dt system will be equal to q dot minus w dot s, and that's equal to del t integral over control volume E rho dV plus integral over the control surface E rho v dot d. Now before we proceed, we have to understand this work done. Right? So this is to be categorized into work done by different types of the forces, and here we have to note that W dot is positive if work is being done by the system. So you see, this W dot is equal to actually W dot S plus W dot normal plus W dot shear and W dot other. So what are they? W dot S is the shaft work. This is the shaft work, and this is entirely system specific. W dot normal is the work done by normal force. So similarly, W dot shear is the work done by shear forces, and W dot other any other form of work. So in our discussion, definitely we will put this W dot other to be equal to 0, and W dot S we will not work on because it is system specific. Now regarding this W dot normal, so you see that, let's consider this is a part of the control surface, over which we have a differential area whose direction is outward, right? So with this consideration, you know that del W is equal to f dot dx. It's the typical definition of work. So del W dt, which is W dot, it is F dot dx dt, so that is nothing but F dot V. So that is W dot. Now for a very small force which is acting on this area, so you can write that del W dot normal is equal to df normal dot V. Now question is, the normal force is the force being applied on the system or on the control volume, right? The force which is being applied on the control volume. So the work done, what we are estimating here, it is basically the work done by the surrounding on the system or on the control volume. However, we have considered the work to be positive if it is the work done by the system. So we must put a negative sign here, right? So the negative sign here, because this del df normal is the normal force acting on the system and the respective work done is the work done by the surrounding on the system, and in order to convert it to work done by the system, we have to put a negative sign. Now question is how to write this df normal. See, df normal is the normal stress into dA. Why? Because the chosen direction of normal force is this, normal outward, right? And tau nn is the normal stress component, and that we will consider as scalar, right? So this becomes minus tau nn dA dot V, or alternatively, as dot product is commutative, we can write tau nn V dot dA. Right? Now there is an additional relation we have to incorporate here, the relation between the normal stress locally at any point and the respective pressure. Here I am not proving it, we will discuss it when we go for Navier-Stokes equation. So what is the statement? If the viscous effects are not very prominent, I am not saying it is inviscid flow, it is viscous flow, but the viscous effect is not so severe. So then this normal stress is nearly equal to minus of T. Why minus? Because you see that according to Pascal's law, pressure always act inwardly, and they will be equal in magnitude if the viscous effects are not highly prominent. So tau nn is equal to minus P. So again, if I just incorporate it here, it becomes P V dot dA. It becomes P V dot dA. Or alternatively, we can write it as P divided by rho into rho V dot dA. So the W dot normal, it's equal to integral over this control surface P V dot dA, or alternatively it is P divided by rho into rho V dot dA. So that we are going to substitute here. But before that, let's discuss about the shear stress. See, similar from here, del W dot shear we can write as minus of df shear dot this v, velocity. Right? Now we cannot represent this df shear, the vector, in terms of area, because area vector is directed perpendicular to it. So what we define tau nt. It is not exactly stress or stress component. We are saying it is the force per unit area, that is the magnitude, and direction will be same as that of the force itself. So we can define it as df normal by mod dA, which is df normal by dA. So evidently df normal becomes tau nt into dAc, where this is a scalar quantity. So from here, I'm erasing this part. You see, this del W dot shear is equal to minus this tau nt dot V into dV. Sorry, this is the scalar vector. And W dot shear will be integral over the control surface tau nt dot V dA. Now here you see that if I have chosen let's say this is the control surface boundary and there is a flow port of that specific region. Now the velocity will be either outgoing or incoming vector, and shear stress will be either like this or it will be like this. This is tau nt, or it's not exactly the stress, it is the force, shear or tangential force per unit area, and we are having a dot product. So evidently this will be equal to 0 if the control surface is so chosen that it is everywhere perpendicular to velocity vector. Right? So using a specific choice of this control surface, we can actually set this work done by the shear force or this power generated by the shear stress, it's equal to 0. Right? So these two are evaluated. W dot other we will not consider right now. So with that expressions, now what we will have? It is q dot minus W dot S minus integral over Cs P by rho into rho V dot dA is equal to del T integral over Cv E rho dV plus integral over Cs E V for break U plus V square by 2 plus Gz into rho V dot dA. So we switch this quantity to the right hand side and we get q dot minus W dot S is equal to del T integral Cv E rho dV plus integral Cs U plus P divided by rho plus V square by 2 plus Gz rho V dot d. Now 1 by rho is what? This, or let's write an overbar, that is the specific volume, right? That is the volume per unit mass. Now you see this P into V bar plus U, it will become the specific enthalpy term. So we'll be having Q dot minus W dot S del del T integral Cv E rho dV plus integral Cs H plus V square by 2 Gz into rho V dot dA as U plus P into V bar is H. So this H is specific enthalpy. And this equation in its form what I have expressed here, it's called the general energy equation. This is referred as general energy equation. Now you see, from here we'll be going for the special form of the general energy equation, that is the steady flow energy equation. So steady flow energy equation. So definitely this term vanishes. So Q dot minus W dot S integral over control surface H plus V square by 2 Gz rho V dot d. So this is alternatively referred as SFEE. Now if the properties of this fluid like enthalpy, then velocity and the datum, they remains constant over the cross section of the flow port. That means if the properties such as H, V and Z remain constant over the cross section of the flow port, then we may restructure SFE as this. So Q dot minus W dot S is equal to I equal to 1 to N H plus V square by 2 Gz M dot whole I, and there will be a plus minus sign, right? Why? Because you see, if this is the control volume, we are having say I equal to 1, 2, then say N1 number of inflow streams, and maybe I equal to N1 plus 1 up to I equal to N number of outflow streams. So we are doing a calculation for all streams, and the plus sign will be associated to that if the specific stream is outflow, and the minus sign should be considered if the specific stream is inflow. So the plus, the terms will be plus if it is an outflow stream and it will be minus if it is an inflow stream. So that is the typical SFE. Now, in a hydraulic network consisting of tanks, pumps, etc., so there we will try to apply the steady flow energy equation, which is this form: Q dot minus W dot S H plus V square by 2 plus GZ into rho V dot T. Right? So this we are going to apply for specifically a hydraulic network. Maybe it's a supply line from one tank to another tank, which is mediated by a pump, and there are a lot of fittings like pipes, vanes, maybe vessels, reactors, everything. So let's think a tank. Here we have a valve, then there is a pump, right? Pump is delivering through some lots of valves and fittings, and it's giving the fluid to a tank at different elevation. So if this is my system, this will be the control wire. This will be the control wire. And let's consider this is port 1 and this is port 2, right? And in the pump, we are giving electrical energy at this rate W dot T, right? So what is our equation? The equation is Q dot minus W dot S is equal to integral Cs H plus V square by 2 Gz into rho V dot D. So you are applying it between this port 1 and port 2. So you get this Q dot minus W dot S is equal to C. First also list the assumptions. First one, definitely it is a steady flow. Second, incompressible flow. Third, enthalpy, which solely or for ideal fluid if you consider depends majorly on temperature, pressure and datum level, that is Z, remain constant over the cross section of every flow port, that is at 1 and 2. Definitely we are considering this W dot other is equal to 0 as well. So Q dot minus W dot S, here if I now split, you see, it will be U2 minus U1 into M dot. Why? Because this H is U plus P by rho. So let's break it like U plus P by rho. Now rho V dot dA, if these properties, this U remains constant over the cross section of the flow port, so you can take it out. So dot product sign will be positive here at this outflow and the negative here at inflow, and integration rho V dot dA will be either positive M dot or negative M dot depending on whether we are evaluating it at port 2 or at port 1. For port 2 it will be positive, for port 1 it will be negative, as obvious because of this dot product. So U2 minus U1 into M dot plus G Z2 minus Z1 into M dot. However, we cannot do that with velocity. Velocity is definitely having a strong variation over the cross section of this flow port. So we can write over this 2, it will be V square by 2, that is scalar, then rho VD, right, for port 2, and for port 1 there will be minus sign, V square by 2 rho VD. We cannot reduce this integral, right? But we have to do that. How we can do that? See, these terms we have to simplify. How we can do that? Think the actual situation. We have a pipe and we have a flow. So definitely the pattern will be something like this. Maxima at the center line and 0 at this wall. And this is R, right? So this is actual. What I want to do, we want to replace it with a uniform velocity flow, where this velocity is average velocity and defined as 1 by A integral Vd, where A is the area or the cross sectional area. So this is an integration over here. So you see this V square by 2 rho VdA integral over an area, what it actually represents? The kinetic energy flow rate, right? Because V square by 2 is the kinetic energy per unit mass and rho VdA is the mass flow rate. So overall it is the kinetic energy flow rate. So actual flow rate of kinetic energy is integral over area A V square by 2 rho VdA, right? And here the model case, what is the kinetic energy flow rate? V bar square by 2 into rho V bar A, right? And they can never be equal, but we are forcibly writing an equal sign or equal to sign, so definitely we have to put a correction factor, and that is referred as kinetic energy correction factor. So this is referred as kinetic energy correction factor, and essentially we get this alpha is equal to 1 by A integration over A V divided by V bar whole cube dA. So we will see later that for turbulent flow alpha is close to 1, for laminar flow alpha equal to 2, right? So definitely with this idea we can now replace these two terms as alpha 2 into V2 bar square by 2 into M dot, and here alpha 1 into V1 bar square by 2 into M dot. So let's do that. So I'm erasing this part. So our simplification is done. So using the idea of kinetic energy correction factor, we now write that Q dot minus W dot S, okay. Q dot minus W dot S is equal to U2 minus U1 M dot plus G Z2 minus Z1 M dot plus alpha 2 V2 bar square by 2 into M dot minus alpha 1 V1 bar square by 2 into M dot. So now you see how we can arrange them. We can shift the terms at port 1 to the left hand side, Q dot we will switch to the right hand side, right? But excluding this U2 minus U1. Let's see how we are managing it. P1, okay, so we have missed the other term. Sorry, there will be another term that P2 minus P1 divided by rho because it is incompressible into M dot. Right? The same issue. So P1 by rho, this P1 by rho we are switching, so here there will be another term P2 by rho minus P1 by rho whole bracket into M dot. So P1 by rho plus alpha 1 V1 bar square by 2 plus GZ1 plus minus of W dot S divided by M dot is equal to P2 by rho plus alpha 2 V2 bar square by 2 GZ2 plus what we will write U2 minus U1 minus Q dot by M dot. So that's a single term we will consider in the next part of the analysis. Right? So you see that here we have now two terms which are to be explained. Right? So one is this, another is this. So in order to explain the first term, minus of W dot S by M dot, so okay, let's further simplify it in one step. P1 by rho plus alpha 1 V1 bar square by 2 GZ1 plus minus of dWS dm is equal to P2 by rho plus alpha 2 V2 bar square by 2 GZ2 U2 minus U1 del Q by dm. Okay? So, in order to understand this term, we have to understand the energy cascade in pump motor set. So you see that in the pump, what we are giving? Electrical energy, W dot. So at the outlet, this is a pump motor set. Actually, we are giving it to the motor. So there will be a drop. At the motor outlet, we will be getting mechanical energy, W dot M. Right? And at the pump outlet, it is further reduced to energy supplied to the fluid, that is W dot F. So this is electrical energy, mechanical energy, and energy supplied to the fluid. Right? And this will write this ratio, there is a drop. So this is the motor part, and we will define this later, but let's write this eta m is motor efficiency, and this drop is eta p represented by the ratio, and this is the part of the pump, and that is pump efficiency. So what I am trying to say that W dot M divided by W dot E is eta M, and W dot F divided by W dot M is eta P. So if I multiply this, I will get W dot F divided by W dot E is equal to eta M into eta P, and we are defining it as eta, and that eta is combined pump motor set efficiency. Right? Now what is the term over there? Minus of W dot S divided by M dot. So basically minus of del W S dm, it's equal to minus of W dot S by M dot. Now try to understand what is our system here, not the control valve. What is the system? System is the fluid here, which is locked between the state 1 or this port 1 and then port 2. Right? So the system is the fluid, and W dot S is the shaft work performed by the fluid. Right? So minus of W dot S is the shaft work being performed on the fluid or either in per unit time. Right? It's basically the power. Okay? So minus of, we have to recognize that minus of W dot S, which is the shaft work at the rate at which the shaft work is delivered to the fluid, is nothing but W dot F. Right? Minus of W dot S, which is the shaft work rate or the rate at which the shaft work is delivered to the fluid, is nothing but the energy or the power delivered to the fluid. So we can write this is W dot F by M dot, which is eta into W dot E by M dot, and we will call it eta into WE. So WE is what? Or WP rather, eta into WP. WP is what? Electrical energy supplied per unit mass of flowing fluid to the pump motor set. So the equation here changes to this first term changes P1 by rho alpha 1 V1 bar square by 2 GZ1 eta WP P2 by rho alpha 2 V2 bar square by 2 GZ2 plus U2 minus U1 minus del Q dm. Right? Now you see, this is unit. If I calculate, it will be in meter square per second square. Right? The unit here, if I calculate again, it will be meter square per second square. And all the terms, and this third bracketed term including everything, they are having a unit of meter square per second square. What does it mean? Energy per unit mass, and that's equal to joule per kg. And what is joule? Kg into meter square per second square divided by kg. So it is evidently meter square per second square. So they are referred as head. Right? Energy per unit mass, it is referred as head. There is an alternative definition which is based on the idea of gravitational unit system, we can rewrite this equation as P1 divided by rho g plus alpha 1 V1 bar square divided by 2g plus gz1 plus eta into Wp prime maybe, then P2 divided by rho g plus alpha 2 V2 bar square divided by 2g plus z2, not gz1, only z1, plus this 1 by g, this u2 minus u1 minus del q dm. Right? So here individually also we can write that this is energy per unit weight. Right? That is also alternatively referred as head. However, the unit will be meter only. Here the unit is meter square per second square. Correct? Now, lastly, we have to understand the significance of this term. Let's focus on this absolute unit or absolute system, u2 minus u1 minus del q del. What does it mean? Let's consider an adiabatic system in order to simplify and in order to understand this. Let's consider an adiabatic system. So q is 0. So this term reduces to u2 minus u1. u2 is the per unit mass internal energy here minus per unit mass internal energy here, which is u1. So u2 minus u1, even if you think of this ideal fluid, u2 minus u1 is Cv within bracket T2 minus T1. So why the temperature increases? Actually, we know from the basic understanding of mechanics that if in any system we have non-conservative force field like friction, then the fluid actually has to do work against this non-conservative force field, and the respective work what it is expending in order to move from point 1 to point 2 finally appears in the form of heat, which is the fate of all non-conservative force, right? So that's why temperature increases. Okay? And temperature increases and we will be getting an additional term u2 minus u1, which is a measure of this work done per unit mass of the fluid in order to overcome this frictional resistance. And that definitely we will refer as head loss. Okay. Now question is, why there is dq dm term? Now if there is any heater present here, we have a heater, then because of the heating the temperature will also increase. So you have to, if we have to exclusively extract out, fetch out the increase of temperature or increase of this internal energy due to this work done against non-conservative force field, then we have to subtract this dq dm because we are heating, and because of that temperature will increase. So overall temperature increase from point 1 to point 2 will be contributed by two basic this energy term. One is the heat given, another is the work done against this non-conservative force, right? So if I have to extract out the work done against non-conservative force, I have to subtract the contribution of thermal energy from the overall increase of internal energy. So that's why in general this u2 minus u1 minus del q del m becomes the head loss term, right? So finally we will get the generalized equation of energy balance, that is P1 divided by rho for fluid network, V1 square by 2 plus gz1 plus eta wp is equal to P2 by rho plus alpha 2 V2 bar square by 2 gz2 plus ht. This is the total head loss, right? Its unit will be also in meter square per second square. How to evaluate this we will discuss it later. So this is the well-known generalized form of Bernoulli's equation, right? And in principle it is very similar to the typical work energy principle we have studied in our school level physics. So you see that this term, this group of term represents the energy per unit mass in the beginning, right? This term is the additional energy per unit mass whatever we are giving through the pump, right? And this term is the energy available per unit mass at this outlet, and definitely this is the energy lost term per unit mass as the fluid moves from point 1 to point 2. So that's the generalized Bernoulli's equation we will solve, and that's the outcome of Reynolds transport theorem coupled with the Sparks law of thermodynamics. So that's the, in nutshell, the overall discussion I have to do for integral control volume analysis. In the next session we will start differential control volume analysis.